Good morning. Well, I'm afraid late nights catching up with me again. I fell asleep without having an ability to trade the Coventry match. We were looking for Coventry to continue that three-goal haul of the last two. Yes, that was a red card, fair enough. But they did show here. They did get a goal, but it was in the wrong order. But don't forget, in matches like this, if it hasn't arrived in a good time, you've always got the opportunity when you take insurance to cash out at both markets, get out. But it was just a very bad luck. It was an own goal. I was pinning my hopes on Derby not scoring a second, which indeed Derby didn't score a second. Coventry scored it for them. So a bit of bad luck there. A 1-2 would have got you out with a marginal or a less heavy loss. So I'm sorry I couldn't trade that out for you. I was just asleep. I fell asleep. Something like 4 a.m., 4:15 a.m., something like that. I'm only human, I'm afraid. Tried my best. Tough old day in the English Championship. Millwall will be absolutely delighted with that win there. Possibility of doing an insurance play on the 1-0, looking for Leeds to equalise. But Millwall at home, tough nuts to crack. Luton Town against Cardiff, early or late goal. Newly relegated, so could or should be dominating the match. 57th minute goal if you laid the draw second half. The favourite scored, so you've got a decent enough swing. Champions League yesterday, a little tough, but how did they get on? This was a possible play if you trusted the market. Young boys scoring first, Shakhtar Donetsk getting the winner. Club Brugge 1, Aston Villa 0. Where's those away goals for the villains? When was that goal scored? 52nd minute and a penalty. Had I been awake, and my apologies again for falling asleep, don't forget, you had 7 hours to the kick-off time and you get an idea that it can be a struggle now and again. That was a trade, albeit a break-even. You've got to take on the 1-0 lead, particularly if it's a penalty. With that away record, we had that in the back of our mind. I mentioned it in the review preview video, and that's how you use it, even though it didn't come to fruition. Taking out insurance and looking at Aston Villa to equalise, perhaps +1, rather than going for the match odds. And off we go. You've got to break even out of that, but you'd have been involved. Had to win Bayern Munich, and boy, they did win. Just about 67th minute Musiala goal keeps Vincent Kompany in a job for another week. Barcelona and Red Star Belgrade. We've got a possible trade out of this with a Red Star lead, I think it was. No, a Red Star equaliser. That could have been the angle in, laying the draw at some point. Probably second half would have been better for me. But Robert Lewandowski not reading the script. This is what you expect of a 1.22 shot, not a 1-0 Dortmund win v Sturm Graz. That's what you expect. 3+ goals. Feyenoord and Red Bull Salzburg. I think this all changed on the red card. I just wish these all kicked off just 3 or 4 hours earlier. We could have had a nice time of it. But no, already a 0-2 lead for Red Bull Salzburg, who were the away side, 6.25. So there was a possibility of taking on that 0-2 lead. But then you'd have been scuppered by this red, which would have knocked the stuffing out of the markets. Inter Milan and Arsenal, it was always going to be a tight one, wasn't it? 2.75 the favourite. Very rare you're going to see that configuration. It's an impossible to call match, so says the market. Çalhanoğlu penalty. Oh dear. Going through a bit of a rough patch now, Mikel Arteta, but still, he doesn't have a hair out of place. Not worrying at all. But 2 consecutive 1-0 defeats for the Ars. Suddenly not scoring those away goals anymore. That, of course, pre-Champions League, away from home. Man City lost, Arsenal lost. Monaco failed to score, Leverkusen failed to score. So one of those weekends, but that was always going to be a tight match, wasn't it? Taking on a Çalhanoğlu penalty, you could have done that. Arsenal's in-play stats did react, certainly, to going a goal down. And again, insurance. If you take out insurance, you're involved to the death. One-way traffic. And it was a penalty, so that would have been a good play in itself. But again, would have been an insurance premium. You've got to break even there. PSG and Atletico Madrid. What an excellent result for Atletico Madrid, I must say. Superb. Because this is a pretty decent PSG. They keep scoring goals despite Mbappe's absence. Mbappe turns up at Real Madrid and he can't buy a goal at the moment. The other two matches, too tough to call. There were certainly some plays yesterday. Besiktas got going late on against Malmo. Malmo's in-play stats were very good indeed. I didn't find an angle in there yesterday at all. No, but it went the way of the market. Simple as that. English Championship, English League One, we've already looked at that. So I'm afraid I was done by the late night. I hope that's not going to be the case this evening. So I like to make some money. I made a loss on the Coventry match because I couldn't cash out because I was asleep. Oh boy. West Brom and Burnley in the English Championship today. It's a tough nut to crack, 2.4 the favourite. Well, let's have an old school look at the research, shall we? Let's go old school, girlfriend. Back to soccerstats.com. This is where, from November onwards, doing this kind of long form research, which does take a while, can really benefit because you've got some embedded stats now. Embedded form, sorry. You've got 10 or so matches played up to November. Even more in the Championship, you can see. Now we can see some real patterns. Laying the draw would be an obvious starting point today. A very, very strong under 2.5 goal current for West Brom. Haven't scored that second goal this season at home. They've failed to score in the last 3 at home, West Brom. Haven't scored that second goal at home. Very strong under 2.5 goal bias for them. Similar story recently for Burnley. Well, no, not recently. I was looking at this as 2.5 goals. No, this is it. So it's a very strong under 2.5 goal bias for both of these two teams. So that will have you thinking, we're not doing overs today. I would personally lay the late draw, starting 1.25 and lower, because these draw sequences cannot continue. They are a killer. With each draw, without losing the match, you're still taking away 2 possible extra points. So West Brom need that draw sequence to end. They need that failing to score at home to end. 2 consecutive home 0-0s. Something to target late on if it's still 0-0. So this is the old school research. As you can see, it brings up all sorts of different angles that you might not have seen had you not gone down this route. Let's have a look at home for the home side, away for the away side. Don't forget the very strong under 2.5 goal bias could lead you to back 0-0 pre-match, perhaps. But it is a sequence that is highly likely to end. The two 0-0s notably have come against the top 5 at home. They're playing 4th today. So that is a problem. The challenge table, you can see, taking shape now. Burnley arguably have had a comfortable start to the season, playing pretty much the bottom half sides out of form, or the non-form half of the table, and they have been really going to town. They are a tough nut to crack, Burnley. Very tough nut to crack. No one's conceding, no one's scoring 2 goals against them. So that could be an angle in. Basically, if West Brom score first, where's that second goal for West Brom going to come from? A couple of 1-0 wins. So possible insurance play if West Brom score first, if this pattern continues. Looking on down, it's going to be a very strong under 2.5 goals. None at home. None. 14% away. So automatically, when I see stats like that, I would back 0-0 pre-match, but it's probably going to be very skinny, as the market will have factored that in. Goal times. Well, where are the goals for starters? It's tumbleweeds for West Brom at home. It's a little clearer for Burnley away. 8 goals scored away. So they do have a strong goal scoring bias, but remember, they've been lucky enough to meet the early season bottom half poorest form sides. 5 0-0s at half-time at home, that's 83%. So that could also bias you towards backing 0-0 pre-match in this one. Now, the research I give you is an amalgamation of a couple of previews. It's excellent research and it's made unique for you. But this is the old school method. It takes a while for me to manually do the research. But I worked it out probably about 6 minutes a match. So it's a very intensive, but it can bring you the odd gem. There's nothing stopping you just having a quick look like this before a match kicks off. And as I said before, the challenge table at this type of stage of the season is going to start really building up. You can see patterns forming already. Burnley against the early season top 5. It's highly likely to be a very tight encounter. Highly likely to be a match where you could take insurance out on the first team to score and oppose them if these patterns continue. A failure to concede that second goal away means West Brom are in trouble. In the Europa League today, I've done the research for members. You cannot discount these sides like Karabakh. You've seen yesterday some good results. Slavia Prague as well. Unknown factor. Logic suggests the Bundesliga side are going to be far stronger than a Czech one-league side. But then again, I would have said Celtic, the SPL side, wouldn't be as strong as the Bundesliga Leipzig. But that was an emphatic 3-1 win. So you see why I prefer league football to this. These are not gimmies, despite the market's suggestion that these favourites are well fancied. Well, my particular picks, what would I choose today? I would look at the Norwegians to possibly start goal scoring. Their season is ending, so they do have that in mind as well. But we need to have a look at their standings in Norway. 3 or so matches left in the Norwegian season. But Karabakh, Azerbaijanis, are they going to be out of their depth? We can do a little look at recent form for the Azerbaijanis away from home in particular to see whether we can cement our interest in Bodo Glimt, the Norwegians. We know they're free scorers at home. Let's have a look in the Europa League at home. 3-2 against Porto. That is superb. That is a hell of an eye-catching result. Did it involve a red card, I wonder, for Porto? No, well, that was a red card for Bodo Glimt. So holding on to that 51st minute red as well. So pretty much the second half played, conceding only 1 goal. That is very good home form. That leaves me a little bit of confidence here. Karabakh look out of their depth, don't they? Particularly away from home, conceding 3 goals on 2 occasions. But for me, Bodo Glimt are not at the level of Bayer Leverkusen or Tottenham, but that was last season. So that's a problem. It's not relatable. Bodo Glimt are nowhere near on the level of Tottenham Hotspur. So that would interest me. Have to pick my battles pre-match. Galatasaray and Tottenham would be very interesting. Galatasaray, indeed, a lot of these Turkish teams have bought very well. We've had the likes of Osimhen going to Turkey. Victor Osimhen, he could have had his pick of European sides. We won't see the lineups just yet. We've got Wilfried Zaha, ex of Crystal Palace, in Turkey. We've got Dries Mertens. We've got a whole host of star names. Really attractive. We've got the special one managing Fenerbahce. So they're obviously having a tilt at Europe. Interesting to see that Tottenham are not even favourite here. It's a Premier League side, for goodness sake. So for me, this would be worth targeting or eyeing later on. Atletico Bilbao thoroughly impressed me with their goal scoring this season. Ludogorets, really on paper, should not land a blow at all. Nice and Twente, no strong opinion there. Olympiacos and Rangers, I don't have a strong opinion, but Rangers shouldn't really travel well. But then, remember, I didn't fancy Celtic against Leipzig. Might surprise in Europe, we will see. Ajax against Maccabi Tel Aviv. Ajax should find this competition to the liking. Maccabi Tel Aviv have a reputation for being very, very defensive, at least in the Israeli Liga Ha'al. Can they do that today? Because Ajax are European experts, aren't they, really? AZ and Fenerbahce, special one, so watch out for a 0-1 away win. Or watch out for an over-performance from Fenerbahce with a special touch. AZ Alkmaar, this is likely to be attack v defence, isn't it? But Fenerbahce, they've attracted some good teams as well. Man United and PAOK Thessaloniki. I wouldn't be backing Man United with stolen money at the moment. Under Ruud van Nistelrooy, we will see. That makes absolutely no appeal, 1.25. No, thank you. And the other two, much of a muchness, but the Czech one-league side against La Liga, I would be favouring La Liga. Genoa and Como. Well, for me, these odds look value for Genoa. They've got that recent 0-1 win, and they scored 2 goals in coming from behind against Bologna recently. They can light up. They got that 1-0 win against Parma. It was there in the in-play stats, so it was a deserved win. 1-0 loss to a free-scoring Fiorentina, who are in the form of their life at the moment. 3-0 loss to Lazio, fair enough. Lazio electric, coming from 2 goals down against the pre-Europa League Bologna, distracted, but very good 2 goals at home. Have a look at their home form. Well, it's not very good, is it? But you've got to put it into perspective. This lot are newly promoted. This is Juventus. This is a Europa League Bologna, and this is a Fiorentina involved in Europe and on a run of 5 or 6 consecutive wins. Playing Roma as well, and Samp in the Cup. It's been a difficult campaign, you've got to say. Not showing any spark of patterns or positive patterns, are they? Como away from home, a couple of 1-0 defeats. They're looking very good defensively, aren't they? So that could be something to frustrate Genoa, who, remember, just got a recent 1-0 win against Parma in their last match. So this could be another under 1.5 goal, or even under 1.5 goal match, this one, with Como looking to keep a 0-0, nicking a single goal. They did score against Napoli. They did score 3 against Atalanta. Very standout match that was in the win. But their usual habit is the 1-0 defeat. So watch out for that. 1-1 last head-to-head back in 2022. It's because Como are newly promoted this season. I would be looking at that with interest. Discount the market. You'll be looking at a tight defensive display from Genoa, from Como. You're just looking to see whether Genoa light up the in-play stats as they did against Parma. If they do, that will be your angle in. I don't think we've got any English football today. Lance Pokal Cup, 1.33 favourite Aarhus. Get a quick look because I'll be up for the 5:45s. Conference League won't be researched today. But let's have a look at some familiar names or any matches which for me on paper stand out. Polish Legia Warsaw really should have too much for Dynamo Minsk. Paphos and Astana. This is a Greek or Cypriot side, Paphos. So Astana must be coming from a country not very good at football. Where are they from, Astana? We can have a quick look. Astana. Kazakhstan. Okay. Borat's boys are out in force. So Borat's boys playing the Cypriots. Want to see whether the market's accurate. It's really gone down from 1.53 at Bet365. Is that a hint in itself? Or did they initially get their odds wrong? Because those are huge moves downwards. Rapid Bucharest, don't know too much about them. But we'll get the odds-ons. Shamrock Rovers and the New Saints. Well, this is, for me, might go the way of Shamrock Rovers v Larne. And the Northern Irish side, where Shamrock Rovers were very, shall we say, generously priced for the result. 2.3 for such an emphatic win. That could happen tonight. The New Saints are from Wales, akin to the Northern Irish leagues. So that, if you bear in mind, 2.3 against Larne, 1.83 could be very juicy today. That's one I'll certainly target as a value play on Shamrock Rovers. Real Betis should have far too much for Sedgler today. Real standout. Chelsea are playing Noah. Park the Ark. You'll be watching a 600-year-old footballer tonight. against Chelsea. This should be an absolute massacre. 1.04 would have you leaning towards first half goals, particularly if it's 0-0 after 10 minutes or 15 minutes. You could get yourselves double figures. But first half goals, 2.5 goals. Could see that come in today. But Noah are going to park the Ark. Simple as that. So watch out. Have they had a reputation for parking the Ark? Well, indeed. Look, Rapid can only score the one. So watch out, Chelsea. Might frustrate, but we're expecting at least, well, one of our, I would say, 4-0 to 9-0 scorelines. Pick any three of those in a lucky dip and have a go at 1.04. FC Copenhagen got the win at the weekend. Başakşehirspor from Turkey, and as I've alluded to earlier, the Turkish seem to be looking at targeting European club football with all of their signings. So those odds might be a little too short. Hearts, I wouldn't be fancying Hearts at all. Heidenheim have performed admirably in the Bundesliga against big names. I think they might just simply outscore the Hearts this evening. But I would welcome a Celtic-like victory for the Scots. St Gallen against Northern Irish Larne. I alluded to it earlier against Shamrock Rovers. Larne were well outpaced. Note Shamrock Rovers were 2.3. 1.4 today for St Gallen. This could be another standout expectation for away goals today. Just out of their depth in Northern Irish. Victoria Guimarães are very impressive in the Portuguese Primeira Liga. They have a reputation for goals. 1-0 win pre-Europa League. They'll take that. But this was in the Cup against Braga. 2 goals against Guimarães. Sorry, against Estrella. 2 against Djurgården in the, is it Champions League? Europa League. Conference League. 3 against Pacos Ferreiro Rocher. 2 against Boavista. And against Stedtler in the Conference League. You can see that reputation for 2+ goals. So again, that looks a very strong one. I just need a very strong coffee to stay up because I would like to actually make some money this evening rather than get a trade on and being asleep so I can't action the trade or indeed get involved with some of the late plays. So that's it this evening. It looks an interesting coupon. I'll be up and about for you. I'll have coffee on intravenous. These will be my picks, my initial picks today. Looking, I have a story in each of these matches, an expectation. Now it's up to the in-place stats to determine whether I'm right or not. Following domestic football, we know Tottenham have goals in them. Atletico Bilbao, no Rangers could be vulnerable. Ajax have a reputation for Europe. Man United, I wouldn't be backing them with stolen money, potentially gettable. PAOK could park the Ark, like Noah. Paulson, Sociedad, Genoa and Cairo will be looking at taking on Pericomo, but a strong possibility of under 1.5 goals, which is indeed also the case in the Championship. Aarhus, odds on Fav away from home in the Cup, likely to be too illiquid. And in the Conference League, some familiar names, certainly some potential goal fests from Guimarães, St Gallen, possibility of Heidenheim outscoring Hearts. Copenhagen, question mark. We don't know the strength of Başakşehirspor with an improving Turkish Super League. Noah's going to park the Ark. Chelsea are going to probably score 4 or 5 or more. Real Betis look far too good at home. That really should take Stedtler to bed. Shamrock Rovers could do what they did against Larne. Rapid Bucharest. Well, we'll have a look, see whether the odds are accurate. Paphos as well, playing a Kazakhstan side. Legia Warsaw, reputation from the Polish Europa League, Polish Ekstraklasa. So I'll see you from 5:30, 5:30 onwards today. And my apologies if I fall asleep again. You add 7 hours to this. It's a 3 a.m. start. I'm quite willing to do it if I can just get up for it. So it looks a more compelling coupon today. It looks more readable today. So I'm hoping that we'll follow through with some trades for you on Telegram. Have a great day, and I'll see members later on.